going for 80 scores here, and you're vicious. No, come here. Come here.
Welcome to July 9th. Sorry, I hit the record button right before Donna walked away. So welcome to July 9th. We are here with Donna Conrad for explanations or demonstrations or something about medieval skills. So Donna is part of the, I forget this every time, the Society of Creative Anachronism. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. And they do a bunch of different medieval arts and skills and so forth. So I am going to just, stop talking and let Donna kind of run the show here. Thank you, Donna. Donna also has her own group, which tell us about your group too.
My group is called Paganism and Folk Magic, and that's pretty much what it is. It's all about old school paganism and folk magic, the esoteric arts, all of that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I'd love to have you. I also posted on my group about doing the live for you tonight. So hopefully some people come to your group that aren't on it yet, because I love your group. It's one of my favorite groups on school. So yeah. So
well, thank you. Thank you.
Pardon me?
I said, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. You seem to, I don't know, you seem to always know exactly what I need to hear when I go on your group in the morning. Okay, so thank you for having me. So medieval stuff is a huge topic. So I'm going to kind of take my lead from you guys as to what you're interested in knowing about. Because I can talk about the SCA in general and all that encompasses, because it encompasses a lot, if anybody's actually interested in the SCA and medieval reenactment. I'm prepared to talk about various different fiber arts and skills and things. If people are interested in that, I can talk about a specific one, or I can kind of spend time just going over a variety of things. I can also talk about the medieval diet, because that's something that I've recently been learning about and getting into, and it's actually really interesting. So I'll take my lead from you guys and what you're interested in learning about.
Morgan,
you're muted.
Yeah, I saw that. Thanks. Morgan or Jim, do you have any preferences of what you'd like to know?
I'm excited about anything. I love learning, so anything is fun for me. So.
Okay.
That's where I am too. I'm just interested in the whole gamut. So whatever you come up with, I'm just kind of listening in as I install my new computer.
Okay.
Well, can we start with an overview of the SCA and then?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'll just kind of start with the broad, and we'll work where interests take us with like questions and things like that. And we'll just let it be organic, because that's my favorite way to hold lives and talks anyway. And we just got cloud cover here, and all of a sudden I'm in the dark. So we have some rain coming. Hopefully it breaks the heat again. So for those
that's that medieval weather coming in.
Right. I hear ya. So the SCA, as Robin said, the Society for Creative Anachronism. So it's a medieval reenactment group. It is worldwide. I'm sure if you go on just Google SCA I think it's .org. Or SCA.com, you will be able to find an organization, a group running near you, most likely. It is such a large organization that they have a big 2-week event every year. I believe it's in August in Pennsylvania called Penzic. And there are so many people that during that event, it has its own postal code. The event has its own postal code. So it is anywhere, I think the largest amount of people have been something like 18,000 people. in a giant field, and there's they have an event within that 2 weeks called Penzic War, and it's literally a bunch of people in armor with rattan and foam weapons beating the heck out, like hundreds of people beating the heck out of each other on a field like it's a medieval war. It's really, really cool. There are
Whereabouts in Pennsylvania is that?
I am not sure. I have never been personally. I'm in Ontario. So I have not personally been to that. You can probably look it up on the SCA website. There's lots of videos and footage on YouTube if you just look up Penzic, which Pennsc, I believe. There's all kinds of information on it. So the SCA itself, it started in the 60s with a bunch of friends who wanted to have a medieval dinner, I believe, for one of their birthdays. So they had, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So they had a medieval dinner, and then they're like, wow, this was a lot of fun. We should do this again. So they kept doing it, and now it's this big worldwide organization thing. And it kind of has like three or four different main areas. So there's arts and sciences, which is what I do. And that covers everything from like fiber art to cooking, fine metalwork like jewelry and crowns. Like people within the SCA actually make the crowns for the royalty in the SCA. Doing illuminated manuscript type award documents for people when they win awards, making your own armor, fletching your own arrows, leather work, woodworking, blacksmithing. I know someone, this man impresses me. He's in his 60s and he made himself a double bellows, like hand bellows, blacksmithing, I forget what it's, forge, like a la medieval style. And he runs this thing himself at the age of 60. It is impressive to see.
Very cool.
Yeah. I'm like, I would die if I did that in the middle of the summer heat. If I could even do it. And he like gets one hand on each bellows doing both of them himself. And it just, yeah, it's crazy. So there's, like I said, all the arts and sciences side of it. And I probably missed quite a few things that are under that umbrella, but pretty much anything that you can make or recreate with your hands is arts and sciences. And then there's the martial activities, so any type of combat. So that's like thrown weapons, like knives and axes. That is rapier, which is sword fighting. Oh my God, you'll have to forgive me. I lose words. Archery is another one. And then there's also armored combat. Will you stop? Sorry, little guy, a loud voice. My favorite, I don't really do any of the martial activities because I'm not really physically able to do that kind of stuff. I am getting into thrown weapons, but that's really about it. It's pretty cool when you go to an event that's based on the martial activities, especially if they're doing like heavy fighting, because it's really cool to see a bunch of guys in like armor that they made themselves fighting all together. It's just a really, really cool thing to experience. And then the other side of the SCA is service and court. So that is things like helping the king and queen by being like entourage, so being their gopher, helping run events, holding different positions within court or within like administrative positions and stuff like that within your local group or the larger society. The king and queen is changed out, so your reign is 6 months. And how they determine the king and queen is by what's called the crown tournament. So that is a armored heavy fighting tournament, and you will register to enter the turn to compete in that tournament. And usually that also comprises on submitting some type of arts and sciences item as well. And then you will have your consort, which is who you are fighting on behalf of. And what I like about this is it's not always just men fighting. There are many women who have fought and have earned the right to be queen by right of arms, and then the king is the king consort. So that's really cool. And it always doesn't have to be like, if you're married in real life, you don't have to, or even if you're not married, you don't have necessarily have to fight for the honor of your real world partner or spouse or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case may be. You can, like, say, if you just have a friend that's like, oh, I've never been king or queen, I'd really like to, would you fight on my behalf? And you can do that too, and that happens all the time. So it's kind of really cool. And then the person who wins a crown tournament, them and their consort are then the prince and princess for the next 6 months, and then they become king and queen for 6 months. So that's really cool. So outside of that, that's kind of the SCA in a nutshell. Usually local groups will have a weekly or monthly meeting locally for either arts and sciences or martial activities or both together, whatever. There's usually larger day events or weekend or multi-day events held in various areas and stuff all the time. It just kind of depends in how active and how many groups are around where you live. Like, I live in Sarnia, and just like an hour away, there's 2 other groups. So we often get together with them, but then Southwestern Ontario, different groups get together to hold events for all of Southwestern Ontario. So, and it's kind of cool going to an event where, like, a lot of people have just regular camping tents, like a Coleman tent, like I have, but also a lot of people who have been in the society for a long time will have these big, beautiful canvas marquee style, medieval style tents. Some of them will be painted up with their own colors and heraldry and everything, and it's really, really cool. It's quite the spectacle to see and have everybody walking around in, it's literally like going back in time. It's really cool. And then there's the concept of who you are. So you would, if you wish to, you don't have to. That's another thing I really like about the SCA is you play to the level you want to play to. So if you just want to go to the local group weekly, you can do that. If you want to go all in and do everything, you can do that too, and everything in between. So normally you would create a persona. So the only rules on the persona is, it used to be that it had to be between 600 and 1600. They've expanded that to go prehistoric, so anywhere from 1600 and back, so before the Renaissance. And then it has to be a character that is based out of like a geographical location that would have been accessible by England in the era that you choose. And then other than that, it's kind of like your imagination is the limit. There's people that are, there's Vikings, there's barbarians, there's pirates, landed pirates. There's all kinds of Mongolians. There's everything you can think of. Everything you can think of. It's really cool. And your persona can have like a specific profession or vocation, or they can just be like, I'm just a 14th century English peasant. However, I'm getting more interested in the more prehistoric side of things. And then there's people that are more recent, and everybody wears garb from like outfits from very basic peasant style stuff to very elaborate Italian 1600s, gorgeous, go all out outfits, right? And everything in between. So that is, and then there's also the side of heraldry. So you would figure out your heraldry. So your shield or emblem for you and what that heraldry is, and there's rules around that and all of that stuff. So, but it's a lot of fun. There's medieval feasts and stuff, which are amazing. So that is the SCA in a nutshell, really, because there's so much to it. You could literally go on and on for days. If you are interested in it, please check out the website and find a group near you. They're all, like, to my experience, everybody has always been very welcoming and open and wanting to help new people get started and find their footing. So, so from that, like I said, mainly I do arts and sciences. Mostly of what I do is fiber type arts, but I do a lot of different ones. So I can talk about that for a bit. Mainly I do a lot of spinning, but I do different types of spinning. So I have a spinning wheel, but I first learned to spin on a drop spindle. So this is a drop spindle. You guys have probably seen them around.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, I have.
Yeah. And there's different types. This is just a regular drop spindle. There's a Turkish spindle. Do I have a Turkish? Yes, I have a Turkish spindle. Oh. So this is a Turkish spindle. So you spin this in a way that you pull this off. You pull this off the stick and then pull these cross sticks out. And this comes out in a ball that you can undo, like pull from the center or from the outside. So that's kind of really cool. And the fiber that's on this is silk. I usually have a bunch of different things on the go at a time because I get bored easy. And then this drop spindle actually has stinging nettle. And I know Robin and Morgan, you've heard me talk about or saw me write about stinging nettle stuff before, because I love stinging nettle. And so this is stinging nettle, and this is what it looks like before you spin it.
Now, do you buy that like that and then spin it, or do you grow, pick,
Pardon me, sorry?
or do you grow, pick, do the whole thing?
With the stinging nettle, I do the whole thing.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, I actually have some now growing in my little yard that just must have seeded itself from stuff that I brought home from my friend's farm. So yeah, I go to a friend's farm and get it. Excuse me. Another friend of mine brings me a bunch back from her cousin's farm up in Barrie. And then another thing that I've been learning to spin is flax. If I can find the end of this one, I don't know. So this is a ball of flax that I spun. You can kind of see it's more like a thread. And flax and stinging nettle are very similar, as you'll see. Like this is flax. Now the flax I bought like this, because I have nowhere where I can grow enough flax to get this.
Yeah. So then what do you do with them after you've got them spun?
So what I'm doing with these, actually, so there is a competition in the spring around here called, oh my goodness, what's it called? Kingdom Arts and Sciences Competition. And that's like the big arts and sciences competition for the year. And within that competition, they have one thing that you can enter that is a pentathlon. So you enter 5 different projects. And there can be a theme or they can be totally separate. It doesn't matter. So I'm actually working on my next entry for this pentathlon. So what I'm doing is the evolution of the tea tunic. So I've been doing, and this is what got me more interested in the prehistoric stuff, because I've been researching the evolution of the T-tunic, the basic medieval shirt, and how it changed and evolved in pattern and how it was made and the fibers used and stuff over time. And it was actually through this that I found out about this and Sally Pointer. It's, partially Sally Pointer's fault. She's a YouTuber that does prehistoric textiles. So I found out through that I don't know if any of you have heard reference to the bog textiles in the UK. All the textiles that they found in the bogs that were
Vaguely. Yeah, I don't know a lot
yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
So
vaguely. Yeah.
So they originally thought that they were all linen, so flax linen. So pretty much all fibers that are a plant or a bast fiber is when it's made into a cloth is considered linen. So so they thought it was all flax linen. Well, it turns out a lot of it was actually stinging nettle fiber linen. And I thought that was really cool because all I knew of stinging nettle before that was that it was kind of like a super vitamin and it hurt you if you touched it. So I was like, okay, why are they making clothes out of things that hurt you when you touch them? So I kind of did a deep dive into the subject of stinging nettle. And kind of an interesting piece of information, stinging nettle was being used for fiber for textiles as recent as the Second World War. Because during the war in the UK and in Europe, there was a cotton shortage in World War II. Was someone going to say something? I saw someone light up for a second. No? Okay. So countries, I'm not sure exactly which countries. I know Germany for sure started making their military uniforms part of the way through World War II with stinging nettle fabric because there was a cotton shortage. So I thought that was really cool because it's actually a really durable fabric textile, but we don't
Yeah, easy to grow.
Yeah.
Just makes a lot of
And
sense.
pardon? Sorry.
It just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and like it grows so easily, especially like I'm not sure, like I know it's native to our area, but like most people have a hard time getting rid of it because it's so prolific when it grows, when it takes hold somewhere. So yeah, so what I'm doing, sorry, I got a little off topic. So what I'm doing is I'm doing 5 different versions of how the T-tunic was made over time, and I'm doing each one in a different fiber, and I'm doing it from a different part of the process because like early on, so an early prehistoric T-tunic that would have been made with stinging nettle, they would have harvested the stinging nettle, done everything themselves. So I'm doing that right from harvesting the stinging nettle to making the shirt. And then the linen one, the next one will be linen, but that would have been possible that someone else, they could have bought the fibers ready to spin from someone else. So I'm doing it from the spinning stage. And then I'm doing wool. What am I doing? Yeah, I'm doing wool. So I'm doing that from spinning the wool and weaving the wool. And then I'm doing a cotton one from buying the cotton fabric because at the time that cotton was available in that area of Western Europe, the UK, they would have been able to buy like actual fabric cotton. And then the last one I'm kind of doing as a joke because in the SCA, they have this thing called the SCA Known World Handbook. And it's kind of like a handbook for beginners. So the first edition of that book had reference to how to make a T-tunic to dress up, to attend stuff. And it told you, it had a pattern and it said, you can use polyester, whatever polyester fabric. So kind of as a joke, the fifth one, I'm going to find like the most retro 60s polyester fabric I can find and make it in accordance with those instructions from that handbook. And then that's going to be like the modern day tea tunic. That's going to be the fifth one in this project that I'm doing.
Cool. Fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, so that's spinning. And like I said, I spin a lot of different fibers with a lot of different, like there's spinning wheels, there's drop spindles, there's supported spindles, there's all kinds of different things. I'm currently, go ahead, Morgan.
With the fibers, with the stinging nettle, is it like hemp in texture, or is it softer like cotton?
It's like hemp. It's like hemp and linen. Yeah. I haven't quite made and been able to make a nice soft one yet. It's a process for sure, but it's getting there. For my spinning, I currently learned about, now this isn't like SCA period. This is from the 1960s. I think they started in the 1800s, but in the Shetland Islands, there used to be this ladies, and I came across this in an old BBC video footage on YouTube from the 60s about these ladies in the Shetland Island that made these knitted lace shawls called Shetland gossamer shawls. And they were made specifically from wool around the neck of Shetland sheep that was like so fine it would just pull out, right? And they would spin this wool, and it's called cobweb weight wool. So it's so fine. Like if you watch the video, if you just go on to YouTube and go Shetland Gossamer Shawls BBC, you'll come across this black and white video, and it shows this woman spinning this cobweb weight yarn, and it looks like she's pretending to spin. It's so fine you can't even see it in her hands. It's crazy. And they make these beautiful, huge shawls that, even though like their size is like, you know, these big shawls that'll wrap around your body, they're so fine, they'll pull through a wedding ring. The whole thing. It's amazing. Hold on one second. Did you want something?
Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to light a fire.
Yeah, go ahead, call the cops. I'm busy. Go ahead, I'm busy. It's not the first time they've been a problem today.
Something worth calling my mom.
If you think it is, call them. I'm
I
busy.
asked Dylan because it's like a Gatorade bottle
Mhm.
with a sparklers or something.
Mhm.
Like dozens of them sticking out some liquid in the bottom, just spraying it black spot and spray.
Yeah, so just call the fire department.
Call the fire department? Or
Yeah.
911?
Call 911 and say, fire department, there's a bunch of teenagers in my parking lot trying to light a fire with like fireworks and Axe body spray. I apologize for that.
That's quite all right. Not the first time that a fire has broken out during a live show with me. So there you
Oh,
go.
wow. Well, we have a neighbor who is issues, and we'll end it there. Anyway, so I'm currently trying to get my spinning down to cobweb weight yarn. So if anybody is familiar with string magic, doing any type of fiber stuff, knitting, crocheting, anything like that, does anybody here do anything like that?
I've done some crochet.
Okay, so you're familiar with the concept of wraps per inch on the thickness of a yarn.
Right.
Right. So standard like crochet cotton and stuff, I think is like 20 wraps per inch or something. So cobweb weight yarn is considered 60 to 80 wraps per inch.
Mm.
So that kind of gives you some context. So I've been working on getting that. This is where I'm at. And it's kind of, I'll see if I can, because it's kind of hard to see, like, to gauge the thinness online, but there's I don't know if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
That's how thin I've gotten it.
Wow.
So it's getting there. This is, I think, about around 60. And then this is some fun stuff I just did. I like the color. This was given to me. And I like the color, so I did that.
Yeah.
So on top of spinning, the next thing would be weaving. But that's kind of hard to show on here because weaving looms are kind of big, but there's like tablet weaving that gives you like thin belts and bands and trim and things like that. And then there's, various sizes of weaving looms. I'm sure everybody's aware of what weaving looms are and how big or small they can be. Our local museum has, like local historical museum, has a weaving loom that is 100 inches wide.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have not seen it personally. Our local Spinners and Weavers Guild has permission from the museum to use it to make stuff on. So a bunch of them will get together and agree, okay, each one of us is going to make a blanket. We're going to agree on these colors, and they'll like warp it up for like multiple projects at once. So it's pretty cool. So another thing is, of course, embroidery. I'm sure everybody knows what embroidery is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's lace work. So I do 2 different types of lace work. I'm learning a third, which is knit lace, because I knit, but I've never done knit lace. So I'm learning knit lace. So other than that, there's bobbin lace and there's needle lace. So needle lace is like sewing, and it's just a buttonhole stitch. That's all it is. You're just doing a buttonhole stitch over stuff. So this is like freehand. You can see that. This is freehand needle lace.
Nice.
So you just kind of, if I can get this up, everybody can see it. There we go. So you just do a buttonhole stitch along the edge, and then when you want to do the loop, you go past where the loop will end, and then you go like make a loop back and forth 3 times. So that's kind of like your framework. And then you do the buttonhole stitch over the loop and then continue on.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's
I've seen videos of bobbin lace.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. That's okay.
I've
Go ahead.
seen videos. Do you do bobbin lace?
I do. Sorry.
How
Bobbin
do you
lace.
keep up with the bobbins?
I haven't done any big projects yet because that's something I'm still learning. This is the biggest project I've done. Is this little, I made these to do like little inserts in a skirt that I was making. So I don't know if you can, let me see if I can put something more solid colored behind this so you can see it better. Hold on a sec. Oops. So there you go. You can see it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, bobbin lace. It's fun keeping track of the bobbins if you've ever seen videos or pictures of it, because this little piece was like 20 some odd bobbins. And yeah, they were not fun. What I do is I use a lot of big like hat pin size, like the bigger pins. And I divide them in groups with my pins to keep them all straight, or they would be a tangled mess and I would probably give up really quickly. Because yeah, it's a lot of Morgan is right, it's a lot of bobbins. And I take my hat off to these ladies that do it so fast and make it look like it's nothing. And all you do is hear the clicking of the bobbins, and they're just going and going and going. And it's like seriously, it is some kind of witchcraft, I swear. So this is a piece of bobbin lace that I purchased. I did not make this one, but this is kind of what you can get from bobbin lace. It's just gorgeous. I am nowhere near that good yet. But Yeah, so the bobbins, I have a couple. I didn't get out my whole, I have two bobbin lace pillows. One is just like a round domed style pillow that's called a cookie, and it's like foam covered in fabric. And then the other one I made is like a whole box. I could get it down, but it'll be a big pain. But anyway, it's a box where the pillow is the lid, and then it has a bolster pillow in it that rolls, so you can do long lengths of lace like that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So here's a couple of bobbins a friend of mine in the SCA made me. She is currently my SCA mentor because I'm working on getting my laurel. So a laurel is each area of the SCA has like a series of awards for, you know, like whatever area you're interested in. So if you're interested in service and court and stuff like that, it's the highest level that you can award you can get is the Pelican. And then in Marshall, it's knighting. So we actually do knightings. It's really cool. They actually have to like sit vigil, and people can go and talk to them and give them advice and stuff. And then they're actually knighted. It's really cool. And then for arts and sciences, it's called a laurel. So I have a friend who is a laurel, and she's taken me on as her apprentice to help me attain the award of laurel. So as part of that apprenticeship agreement, she made me these little lace bobbins.
Mm,
Yeah, so
nice.
that's kind of like what lace bobbins look like. They usually put like a little ring of beads or a weight or something at one end, and that's so one, they're color coded, so you know which, because bobbin lace always works in sets of two, so you know which two bobbins go together, so they're like color coded. I personally just paint mine because I don't like having all the little dangly things on them. And it also stops them from rolling all over your pillow. Because if they roll all over your pillow, they're going to get all tangled up and make a mess and make you very unhappy with the mess because it's not fun to figure out. I have done it. It's not fun. A friend of mine showed me a trick of like just crocheting a band, and then when you're not working on your bobbin lace, pin that band down across, holding all your bobbins in place so they don't move. And I couldn't thank her enough because that was genius. Another thing is, oh, we were talking about tablet weaving. So this is a piece of tablet weaving that I did. So tablet weaving can do like thin bands like this. This isn't very good, but so anything from thin bands like this, even smaller. Like I know someone who did tablet weaving with thread and made garter laces. So they were like the size of a shoelace. It was crazy. And she did like a pattern on them. It was nuts. And then two as wide as like a belt, right? And tablet weaving is done on something called an inkle loom that's like narrow and tall and kind of long. And it's done with these little, usually square cards with a hole in each corner. And you do the pattern by what hole the threads go through in the cards, and then turning the cards in a different order in different patterns makes the patterns. So it's actually pretty genius.
Would
One
that,
thing,
would that be similar to the like doing the bracelets where you have like the 9 points and then you move it and then you turn it and then you move and it goes through the center and like weaves together
kind of, yeah.
for like a friendship bracelet?
Yeah, kind of like
Okay.
that. Yeah, yeah. It actually, the more I learn about different arts and sciences in like medieval times and prehistoric times, the more I'm amazed by the technical ingenuity of these people. Because like a lot of people today, and I know I was very guilty of this. We think that people back then, prehistoric people, medieval people, were not very technologically advanced and weren't very intelligent. But to come up with some of the ways that they did things, like with how a spinning wheel works, right? Like the engineering just of a spinning wheel alone, if you look at how it works, is pretty amazing. And like these people had to work with what they had available. So to figure out that you could take a plant that's growing in your field and turn it into a shirt, and all the processes, like all the steps of the process that you needed to do that, or to figure out, like I know sourdough today is a huge big thing, but then sourdough bread was just bread. They didn't call it sourdough bread. It was just bread because that was just how they made bread. They didn't have yeast, right? Unless they happened to be close to a brewery or made their own beer, then they would have leftover yeast from then. But even then, they often just did like the sourdough method, and that was just their bread. So, but they figured out how to make like a sourdough starter to get their bread to rise and to make yeast and how to ferment things and everything. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. I think that's pretty genius to be able to figure all these things, technical things out. Because like even today, like I also have gotten into making my own mead. And even today, for someone who's just making mead or homemade wine or homemade beer from home, we have recipes and we have instructions and everything on how to do it, but it's still hit and miss as to whether it turns out any good or not, right? Whether it's drinkable or whether you end up with vinegar, right? So I don't know. Like I think we don't give these people enough credit for the technological ingenuity that they had and how intelligent they really were, if that makes any sense.
Oh no, it really does. I think, I could be wrong, but I really feel like the beginning of the 1900s was a really big push for modernization, right? And that anything that wasn't in this technologically wonderfully new modern age was just old and worthless and not
Yeah.
very smart, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
there was a
Yeah.
lot of propaganda going on.
Yeah, like I'm actually very grateful that I was raised by my mom and my grandparents, and I grew up on a farm. And I was raised by grandparents who lived through the Second World War and through the Depression. So I grew up learning how to do a garden that you lived off of, right? That fed you.
Mhm.
I grew up learning about how to preserve food that didn't require constant electricity like refrigeration or a freezer. I learned about canning and drying your own herbs and making your own stuff, and we had our own chickens, and I really appreciate now, especially the way today's economy is going, that I have those skills,
Mhm.
because like if the hydro goes out, um I have the skills, and I've handed some of them down to my kids and my grandkids, that if the hydro goes out or the grid goes down or something, we'll be fine, right?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of skills that are dying and we're losing, that our descendants, our children, could eventually need again someday, if the world keeps going the way it's going. But that's a whole other topic. So yeah. um but yeah, so we're at 7:15. um Oh, here's one thing you guys might find interesting. So this is a Japanese art that a friend of mine introduced me to. It's called tamari. And tamari, and this is once again some another one that I'm just learning. Tamari is Japanese, and it's like embroidery on a ball. So this is a tamari ball that I'm working on. So
Interesting.
turn it around a little bit. So tamari actually started out in China as a like kind of like a ball game that was also used to train military, like to train soldiers and stuff. Kind of like hacky sack.
Mm.
And then it moved to Japan, and it became, over time, right, became a toy that kids would play with. So how it was made was moms would take, like once it moved to Japan, moms would take whatever scraps of fabric or string that they had left over that wasn't really enough to do anything else with. They would ball up the fabric and they would wrap their yarn or string or whatever around it and create a really hard center ball. And then they would wrap finer thread around it to make a base. And then the kids would play with that. And then to make, over time, to differentiate whose tamari belonged to who, they started making them different colors and sewing patterns onto them. And then they, over time, became kind of like a folk art almost. And then eventually it turned into something that was just for nobility. And, you know, because that happens. And at one point, it was a thing when a young Japanese woman was married, when she was on her way to go live with her husband's family, a tradition. Now, this information was told to me, so this wasn't information I researched myself, but as I was told that the young woman, when she was getting married, she would take apart her childhood kimono and use the threads and the fabric from her kimono to make a tamari ball that she would then present to her new mother-in-law to indicate how good of a wife and daughter-in-law she would be. Another thing that they would do is they would put bells in the middle, or like little things that would make noise, or they would write like a blessing on a piece of paper and put that in the center and things like that, which I thought was a really nice way to do like a gift to somebody. I thought that was kind of cool. And there's like lots of different, like this is just one pattern. There's like, if you look up tamari, there's so many intricate patterns. This is another one of the first ones I ever did.
Oh, cool.
So I
Yeah.
think I missed what the purpose of the tamari ball was.
Pardon?
Like you said something about military application, but I didn't.
So it was like a ball game, like hacky sack. So they used it for training soldiers and military in China. That's where it originated. I have that, hold on, I have that down on a paper somewhere. It's right here. Yeah. So I'm gonna throw on my glasses so I can read. I made little pamphlets about them. So there's like a picture of like the inside of one where it's like fabric with yarn wrapped around it. That's how they would start. So yeah, so its origins in China. It started from a ball game called Cuju, C-U-J-U, that was first documented in a military manual from the Han Dynasty in 206 BCE to 220 Common Era. It was played both as a sport and for military training. The Cuju balls, originally made of stuffed animal skins, made their way to Japan in the 7th century. The game, then being called kemari or football, developed into an early form of what we now know as hacky sack, where players work together, keeping the ball off the ground using their feet. Over time, kemari with a K, the kemari ball became more ornate, being made from scraps of fabric and string, evolving into the tamari or handball we see today. It eventually became a valued art form with intricate geometric patterns made of silk thread. So yeah, I thought that was kind of really cool. And like there's like how they start with the pattern is they'll section it off with threads like this, and this is called the obi. So specifically this thread around the middle is an OB. So they'll section it off and that'll help them do like registration marks for the pattern. And there's so many patterns, like the ones I do are so basic compared to some of the ones that are out there. Oops. Here's another one that I've done.
It's really pretty.
Thank you. I like doing them. I did my daughter one that was like a black background and then like a rainbow. So yeah, so that's Tamari. And oh no, I think what else do we have? I think that's about it. I do here's something cool. I the last 2 years I started getting into natural dyes. So I was playing around with natural dyes. So this is, of course, oh my goodness, I hate when my brain does that. Indigo.
Hmm.
And I did this with my grandkids because indigo, if you've ever dyed something indigo, it's really cool because it doesn't turn blue until it hits the air and is oxidized. So when you first pull it out of the dye bath, it's like this orange, this yellowy green. And then as it hits the air, it like magically turns blue right before your eyes. It's really cool. And then this I did with, can't really see the color very well. This is like a light Wedgwood blue. And I did this with red cabbage.
Cool.
Yeah. And then this is silk that I dyed also with red cabbage.
Oh, see, I would have thought that was more indigo. Cool.
Yeah. And that's what people usually think. They're like, no, that's indigo. And I'm like, nope, red cabbage. Silk just apparently takes dyes really, really well.
Hmm.
Will you stop? And then this beautiful yellow. Will you stop? Is goldenrod.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Goldenrod.
Okay.
And then this one, this is like an orangey yellow. So this is yellow onion skins, this one.
Oh, cool.
And then do I have any? This was goldenrod, but picked later in the season when like the flowers were starting to die.
Hmm.
So I thought it was kind of cool that it actually matters like where in the cycle you pick things because it can actually affect the dye that you get. Yeah, I think that's all I have right now. This one. Yeah, this one you probably won't even see. This is like a really like pastel baby yellow. It probably just looks white to you. That I did with saffron.
Oh.
But I only had like a little tiny bit of it. So yeah. So
I've
that
considered growing saffron
it's
so
worth
that
it
it gives.
because
I feel like it would be cheaper to grow.
I was gonna say it's worth it because it's beautiful and it's so much cheaper. If you plant it outdoors and you have any type of rodents, put like a small gauge chicken wire over it or something over it to prevent the critters from digging it up. Because I've had squirrels dig mine up twice now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have to like buy
Oh
more.
no!
But it's pretty cool. Like the things that you can use to dye fabric is pretty amazing. Like pretty much any plant that you can go outside and get, you can use to dye fabric almost. You usually, a lot of times you have to use a mordant. So a mordant, like I usually use alum because alum doesn't usually affect the actual color of the dye other than making it deeper or like more saturated. So what a mordant does is it kind of opens up the fibers of like the wool or whatever fiber you're using, so it takes in more of the dye. So mordants that you can use are you can use like rust is a mordant, alum. I'm not sure what else. There's a few different mordants that you can make, and some of them will change, like using rust. So iron will, of course, it's orange, so it'll affect your final color depending on what you're dyeing with it. And then you can like mix colors together, and like with the cabbage, like the red cabbage, you can actually like you get kind of like a. Will you stop? Oh my goodness, so sorry. They're eating and they're kind of arguing over who gets to eat out of what bowl. So with red cabbage, if you change the pH level of the dye bath, then it changes the color. So with red cabbage, you get like that purpley blue kind of a color. But if you add baking soda, it changes it to a turquoise color. And if you add vinegar, it changes it to magenta. So like, and that's another misunderstanding that people have today, is that medieval times and even prehistorically, people's clothes were very drab shades of grays and browns and whatever, and they really weren't. They were actually very, very colorful. So yeah, because they would use different types of moss and lichens and different plants and different tree barks and all kinds of different things to get different colors. And
Sure.
so yeah, they had a huge palette of textile dye colors that were just all from natural plants and materials that they had handy. So there you go. I hope you found everything interesting.
Yeah.
We kind of covered a lot of different things.
Yes, we did. It was very, very interesting. Thank you so much. Yeah. It had been a really long time since I had even talked to anybody from the SCA. And I remember at that time, my son was looking at, I think, the martial arts.
Mhm.
And then I was just really, really fascinated by blacksmithing,
Yeah.
and would have loved to have done that. But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that they do, and there's so much to it.
Mhm. It is.
I wonder.
Go ahead.
Oh, we have in my hometown there is a place called Fiddler's Grove, and they have classes on like basket weaving
Oh, that's
and blacksmithing and stuff. But I feel like period wise, it's more around the Civil War
oh,
era,
mhm.
and less medieval. But they've done reenactments up there, and I've seen all sorts of really cool crafts from the people that do the reenactments, and I kind of wonder if they're part of the SEA.
No, they might be. There's a lot of different groups out there. There are some like more medieval LARPing type groups that are more fantasy than historical accuracy, because the SCA is more about at least attempting historical accuracy. So you're not going to get things like fairies and dragons and that kind of stuff, right? Whereas like at Ren fairs, it's more fantasy than historical accuracy.
Yeah, I feel like Fiddler's Grove would be more historical accuracy, so that would be cool.
Yeah, but all of them are great. All of them are great. Like I
Yeah.
love going to Ren fairs. I used to go to. We have a reenactment here thing that's kind of like the equivalent of the Civil War. It's the War of 1812 reenactment stuff,
Mm.
which is really cool. And what else? There's people that just do like heavy armored fighting groups that just do that. There's a lot of different groups. It's all about really just what your interests, what your specific interests are, how much you want to be involved, what you want to do. Like there's one lady, I think she's in her 60s or 70s in the SCA in southwestern Ontario. She actually grew, it took her, I think she said 8 years, but she grew flax and went all the way through the process to making herself a dress. And she actually wore that dress to events. It took her,
Nice.
yeah. So like back then, your clothing was usually the most expensive thing you owned.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Well, because you had to hand make all the fabric.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the most valuable thing you owned, and that's why people only owned like your average peasant would only have like maybe 2 outfits, and that's why they always wore like aprons and things like that, because then it would protect their clothes. A lot of times you would see like the ends of sleeves, especially more like working people, the working class and peasants, the ends of their sleeves you would see would have like a sewn on band, and also the ends of dresses. So, or even pants or tunics for the men, because when that started to wear, they would just cut off the worn part and sew on a new part.
Mm,
So a lot of the time that's what like trim on a bottom of the skirt was a decorative way to reinforce the hem of your skirt or the hem of your sleeve or whatever, right? To make it last longer.
yeah. Yeah. All
So
right. Well, we
yeah,
appreciate you coming and talking to us and sharing all this with us tonight.
I had fun because my daughter gets on my case because she's like, you'll just talk about the SCA for as long as people will sit still and listen. So,
That's
and
good though.
she's not wrong. She's not wrong. So
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we will, I will have a recording of this and have it posted up later today. So have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
thank you for coming. I hope you learned something useful.
Yes. Thanks.
Okay, have a good
Thank you,
night.
Cal.